Hello, everybody. How's it going? Today it's a special day. Uh, we're here with Tony. He's one of the game designers, and
Hello,
say hello to everybody. Tony, present
hello.
yourself, maybe.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a designer over on Realm. I've been with the company since January, so yeah, very excited to jump on the stream for the first time.
Okay, pretty cool. We have some regulars here. Some questions will pop up. I will read them, and Tony will answer them. But we want to show you some stuff first. So first of all, what you're seeing is not my screen this time. You're seeing Tony's screen. Um, so yeah, it's pretty exciting because he has stuff that I don't have. Um, first of all, how's the sound, guys? Uh, we had some echo, right? It's low. Okay, gotta set my mic a little bit higher. Is it better? Is it better? But echo only when Tony speaks, right? Or when I speak.
Let me just do a quick test. Is it echoing now? We all good?
Uh, so what about now? Is it echoing now? Okay, so I have to mute. I have to mute Tony while I'm speaking, and I have to mute myself while Tony is speaking. Okay, no worries.
Like an over and out kind of situation. Yeah, you'll ask a question, go over, and I'll start speaking. So we're not talking over each other.
Guess so.
Okay, okay, over.
Okay. Um, well, since we are showing you guys two very cool things, we're gonna start with the one that you guys probably know the best, which is the third generation of STs. You've probably heard about this, but we wanted to show you in person. I mean, in what is that, Tony? It's
Uh,
not a person. It's some sort of bird. Your avatar.
sorry. Oh,
It's
the avatar. Yes, it's a harpy.
a harpy. Oh, okay.
Harpy. Yes.
Okay. Let me just, guys, please behave on the chat. I'll have to moderate. Here are a couple of comments.
Okay.
Um, so the floor is yours. You can show them whenever you want. So I will be quiet now because of echo reasons.
Okay. So first thing we're going to show you is we've got the two Generation 3 ST sets. Um, the first one is that we're going to show you is the Huntress, which is the Resurrected Huntress set. Both of the all Generation 3 sets will be forged using existing STs and class specific tokens. The tokens are going to be what's dropped as opposed to the actual items themselves. So you'll basically be you'll take your regular STs that you're getting through dungeon drops. You'll take the tokens that you'll be getting that will be added to certain dungeons. You'll take them across to the forge, and you will be able to forge the new items. So I've given myself all of the Huntress set apart from the weapon, the bolt thrower. As you can see, the Nectar Crossfire gives me 80 of this mythic material, which is enough to create it and use the token as well, and that'll set me up with the item. The current prices. of the SD items are based on their forge tier. The current setup is that you'll require one item of the same forge tier to be able to create an item of an equivalent tier. So in this case, the bow is S, the bolt thrower is S. You'll only need one of those. If you want to use a lower tier item because it's easier to farm, you'll need more of them. It's currently the case of if you need one S, then you need two A's, you need four B's, and all the way down. That kind of progression. You will also need to include something of the same type. So in this case, one Nectar Crossfire equals one Bolt Thrower. But if you had, say, for instance, two A class items and you were trying to forge that out, one of them would still need to be a weapon. So you need a weapon to make a weapon, you need armor to make an armor, you need ring to make a ring, that kind of thing. But all of them will take the STs and the token, forge it up, and I'll equip it in a second so you can see the skin. Just get a little bit further away, and boom, there's the skin, which is this kind of Bride of Frankenstein uh, thing. Because these first two, and you probably saw that from the token, they've got a bit of a B
I
movie
love
theme going
it.
on for them. Oh, sorry.
Just saying that I love it. The Bride of Frankenstein thing.
No worries. Like I say, that we've got kind of B movie theme. It might not extend throughout the rest of Generation 3. It probably won't, but that's what we went for these two because it kind of worked together. And yeah, basically you've got the bolt thrower. The idea behind this one is that we want all of these. Well, not just for this one, but for in general, is that because you're giving up possibly quite high level STs, plus you've got to grind for the token, we want them to be a bit more powerful, not ludicrously powerful, but a bit more powerful. So in this case, the testing that we've done in the back end, people said, the bolt thrower was A class and we wanted it to be S class. So in this case, what we've done is we've taken its A class stats and we've added this extra wider spray of mini projectiles, so they're less damaging, they're not armor piercing or anything like that, so you can just do like a big fan and just sweep through minions with this while your main damage is still coming from this central bolt you can see here. The lightning rod, the trap, basically it's got quite a wide range, damaging, and it can slow. The armor, if you get hit with it, it releases cone of lightning in the direction of the thing which is attacking you. And the bouffant is basically it's got some higher stats than some of the other rings. And obviously the
I'm
sets are
just
all
I'm
in.
just
Oh,
going to
sorry.
ask you to I'm just going to ask you to go through the stats, the tooltips again, so that the guys
Oh,
can
the
see.
tooltips again, kind
Yeah,
of nice and slow.
yeah, nice and slow,
Oh,
please.
do apologize. It looks like I'm on the branch which has slightly older stats. Yeah, so the stuff has actually been slightly increased. I do apologize. We've been having some weird technical issues in the background here. So the main projectile on this and the secondary projectiles are way more damaging than are here. The lightning rod has. Oh no, lightning rod's about the same. The wedding dress, yeah, this is a cone of three, so the same damage, but we extended the range and the cone on the wedding dress, and on this, I think we're looking at plus 4 dexterity and plus 4 vitality on the ring. So I do apologize that we're using a slightly older version of this. And we've also got the mini skin to go with it. I mean, I can apply it, but you won't be able to see it with this on.
Yeah, I see
And
that somebody was asking for it in the chat, so
mhm.
there you
Yeah,
go.
you know what? I'll take that off and I'll switch over. There we go. Obviously, this is like the unupgraded central projectile you can see there. So that's the resurrected Huntress. Would you guys like to see the warrior?
The warrior comes bearing gifts.
Yes.
The
So
warrior
we
is my favorite guys. So
Yeah,
just
so
let you
we,
know.
we initially we start off, and this is him with his full set on. In terms of everything, the damage I think on that we put the rate of fire slightly down, but otherwise it's good. We put the bleeding up. There's a tooltip error there, but I'll explain bleeding in a second. The cowl, if you are wearing it and the ring, headless Ted, then you get paralysis in addition to the berserk effect. The overalls have, I think, oh no, I think the overalls, yeah, yeah, the stats are slightly higher. Not the defense. I know there was some discussion about that on the case of the overalls. I think it's the vitality and the max HP has gone up. And headless Ted, again, it's I think it's a one extra point of dexterity and a bit extra hit points to nudge them all into the categories that we were looking for. Uh, and yeah, in terms of so this is another thing that I've done with this. I had to reverse the attack animations because as they normally come, it would look like he was pulling the axe back as he was throwing it. So I just kind of switched them around. So he is throwing the axe when he's actually throwing it down there. I think I've got the mini skin applied already. Yep, there we go. So this is the mini Kill Billy Warrior. Um, just throwing the smaller axes there. And the axes, they do bleed, which is a new feature we can talk about as we're going through this. Um, I'll just kind of running into the world. There's not much in the early game that will actually have the capacity to bleed because it does so much damage. It'll just kill them in one shot anyway. But I can put something down. Create. Uh, so whack him with that, and as you can see, he is.
Princess Blue Kawaii is asking, are these for Halloween? These are not for Halloween. These will come way earlier. Way earlier.
Mhm. Yep, horror is not just for Halloween anymore. But as you can see there, when I'm hitting him, he's bleeding through these kind of direct projectiles. I'll just kill some of these things. So I've got them out of the way. And yeah, basically bleeding. He can't bleed while he's invulnerable. We'll do like a proper chat about this. But yeah, bleeding through direct projectiles is something which has been added and improved. In this case, the final version of the axe will do 300 points of damage over 3 seconds. So effectively, every hit that you're landing is whatever the damage you get between its minimum and maximum damage plus 300 plus about 300 points of damage spread over those seconds. So as you can see, as I'm hitting these enemies as well, it's going bleeding, and then you can just see their health kind of just chugging down until they die. So yeah, that's bleeding is the new feature which is coming with this set. And we can kind of discuss. People are talking about the Halloweeny theme and the rest of it. We can kind of discuss how we evolved with this. I'll just nip back up to the Nexus so we can do that without him killing me in the background. So yeah, we can kind of
I was just saying that the bleeding only applies to the enemies. So the bleeding that the players suffer will remain the same, right?
Yes, it's the players will have the same mechanic. We so when I was making this set, we noticed that bleeding wasn't working on direct projectiles. So I went in, made the axe, added bleeding to the projectiles, dropped its damage to 0, went into the world to see what kind of effect bleeding had, and it wasn't damaging the enemies properly. So we've revamped the system, but just the enemies, just the side versus the enemies. So player side unchanged versus the enemies. They will now take damage over time. There's a base stat of 20 damage per second, and we can define higher levels of damage on individual items as we see fit.
Did you guys understand bleeding? Yeah, they're
Uh,
asking, does bleeding stack?
yes, bleeding does stack. You can multiple players can stack bleeding on the enemy and it will take all of it. We do have a parameter which has been applied to bosses, which prevents them from losing more than a certain amount of their maximum HP per second. So you can't just everyone run in with these axes, fling a whole bunch of them in, and then everyone backdashes to let the boss bleed out. They will at best be able to lose 1% of their hit points per turn. Everything per second. I mean, everything else it can stack up to about 50% is the default value. So against regular mooks, you can't just hit them and just drain their life away if you're hitting them with enough stacks. But obviously, the damage is like per tick, as you were seeing there, is just like floating over their head. Um, so you're not going to be able to. Most of the time, a lot of the things you'll be hitting will be dying from the damage anyway. And I can just quickly run into world and show you because most of the times you'll just fling it at stuff and they'll just straight out die unless they're quite high level. So again, little minimum level dudes, you're hitting them, they're dead before the bleeding even kicks in.
One cool thing that you guys have probably wondered. So you've seen how these sets can be forged with tokens, right? So one cool thing is that we will not sell tokens.
Mhm.
So for you guys that are saying, "Oh, Deca, you," no, will not sell tokens. So
Yep.
yeah, this will be accessible at a certain time to free to play players, of course. And this is important for us as well. Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and let you keep on speaking.
Sure. Well, I mean, what would let's see. We've covered the two sets. We've covered bleeding. Is there anything? What would we do next? Any questions from chats about the sets in general?
I have a question. Will ST Forge be for old STs as well?
No, right now it is just going to be for Generation 3 stuff. Maybe Generation 4 and onwards will also use it, but as at the moment, it is not going to be for older sets. Older sets will still be dropped as usual. That's kind of why these items are going to be a bit more powerful, because you're going to have to use the older SD items to create them.
We have a question here that says, will the future weapon modifiers apply for bleeding? For example, like a 10% damage weapon modifier will increase bleeding damage by 2 damage.
No, right now, well, I mean, theoretically it could in the future, but right now it's not. Bleeding is in the same way as, say, for instance, increasing the damage of a paralysis of a weapon that has slow or paralysis on its projectiles wouldn't increase the duration of the paralysis or make it like double paralysis or something like that. It is a defined parameter on the weapon. Theoretically, in the same way as we just had, as part of the sorcerer rework, we were looking at, having scaling off other stats as opposed to wisdom. We could theoretically look into that, but right now it's just a set defined x damage over y x damage for y seconds.
Will older items be buffed with bleeding, or is it exclusively for new items? Asks Warriors Odyssey.
Right now, it's probably going to be new items, simply because I mean, this is the thing: is that nothing really used bleeding from direct damage before. There was some items that would use bleeding from a special effect or like an AOE attack. I think there's the Blacklight artifact or some other trap used bleeding, but as an AOE. Everything else, DOT wise, has been AoE poison. And in fact, the AoE bleeding also used poison parameters. So it was technically poison, it just showed up as bleeding as an effect above the enemy's head. So since nothing previously used bleeding as direct projectile damage,
Can you explain the
nothing's really going to be
difference?
changed.
Can you explain the difference between bleeding and poison?
So poison, I believe, does damage through invulnerable. Bleeding will not damage through invulnerable. I think there's a couple of other ones, but off the top of my head, that's like the biggest difference that is off the top of my head. Plus, of course, in this case, bleeding is coming from direct damage, so it's a combination of, rather than going everything in this area is going to get poisoned for X damage over Y seconds, it's a case of you have been hit for damage, and on top of that damage, you take bleed. I mean, obviously, there's like the poison grenades from the assassins as well, also do some damage on top of that. But that the core thing that immediately springs into mind is whether or not it affects other invulnerable enemies.
Okay. We have a question here that's asking Tony Morton, anything else to show in this stream besides STs? Yes, we are showing the bleeding mechanic.
Yeah.
Okay. More questions. Okay. Let's see. We got the fiery can see ST set pieces as drops from bosses. That Tony won't be able to tell you guys. Remember, Tony's designer. This is more like a question to LO. And as I promised, I will bring you here some people from Live Ups, which are the guys responsible for sales and everything. So you guys can torture them for a bit. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we will bring here some people from LO. So any questions for Tony that built these awesome ST sets with this new mechanic and with the possibility to be forged? Okay. Will alt-tiered weapons have special things like bleeding?
Sorry, will alt tier or alt tier?
Will it's a question from you can see here. It's a question from Slotky something. I cannot pronounce the name. It says,
Okay.
"Will alt alternative tier weapons have specials, things like bleeding?"
Again, it depends on the weapon. In this case, we could have gone with bleeding for the axe. We could have gone with a different option. It's just that based on the theme, in this case, it made sense for the item to have bleeding, and that's how we ended up going with this. There's some plans for some of the steamwork items to have bleeding on them as well, and technically now we can start adding items with bleeding as we go through, but we're probably not going to go and add bleeding to existing items.
That we have someone asking, will they automatically be able to be crafted? So maybe you could just show the crafting part again for the ones that
Yeah.
joined now and haven't seen it.
So, if I remember correctly, the current plan is that they will not require blueprints. So they will just this will be there. You've got all of your different options. So the ST tab will just start with that. Let's see. Forge. Oh, yeah, that's because I haven't picked it up. There we go. Stop being kind. Okay, so basically, as before, you've got your weapons. Let's see what else is worth 80. Well, the overalls of endurance I cannot craft because I need an armor. So I would need something else for that. But in this particular case, theoretically, I could create a bolt thrower from a bolt thrower, which makes no sense. But in this particular case, just for the demonstration, basically I can forge the bolt thrower from STs that have equal value to the one which I'm trying to make. Let's see. So if we were going to do this properly, we've got so I can create. So if I were to give myself another token, I'll be able to create myself a bolt thrower by changing over the older ST item, which is of the same type and rank, to be able to create the new Generation 3 item. So if I had some armor that had the same value as the overalls and a Killbilly token, I'll be able to create myself the overalls.
Oh, I was speaking muted. Great.
No worries.
It's a classic from our meetings, right? um, as I was saying, we showed you guys the SDs, show you the bleeding mechanic. I don't know if you have any other questions, but if you don't, we'll call it a day. And see you next in the next stream. So that you guys know, we'll be doing more streams like this, trying to get away from the streams with just spawning stuff. We'll still do one of those per month, like we promised. Me and Achelos. But we'll try to get people from the designers, from the LO team, and from the remaining teams here to explain you more stuff about the game. So let me just see. Okay. Can you receive any additional information about the new exaltation dungeon? All in due time. All in due time. Okay. Thank you very much for being with us. Calling it a day. See you next time. Bye bye.